I wanted to come back here to the Field House. This is the exact spot where we taped that show in 1987. And what I want to do is play that tape for some of the people who spoke the loudest that day. It's been 23 years. With everything that we have learned, I want to know, do they feel the same? Have their opinions changed? Has Williamson grown? Has America grown? First, I'm going to talk to Mike's sister. She was one of the lone voices here to defend her brother that day.
I am Mike's sister, Liz, and this town has done every single one of my family wrong. They have shunned us. I have walked in grocery stores, and people have turned around and left because of this. Now, he is one of God's children, no matter if he loves him, if he is his or not. He is God's child, just as we all are.
And so?
And I think that people here need to stop and think, what would you do if it was yours? What would you do?
That is Mike's sister, Tina, who used the name Liz at the time because she wanted to protect her identity, and she was wearing a wig and didn't want her own son to be ostracized because of her appearance on television. And Tina is here with her two sisters, Anna and Lee. So for people who don't know, what happened to your brother, Mike?
He passed away 16 years ago, August the 4th.
You know, it's interesting because in preparing to come to meet you all here today again, I watched that tape for the first time since 1987, all the way through. And I was struck by how brave he was to sit in a room where there was such vitriol, such venom and hatred toward him. Did he regret doing that show afterwards, or did he feel some sense of validation after doing that show afterwards?
He always said that he was glad he did that show, that he just wanted to educate people. Mm-hmm. You know, it was never anything other than just get some education out there.
Did he leave town after that show?
Yes, he did. He moved to Charleston and then proceeded on to move to California.
Did he ever find the kind of peace and compassion that he was looking for? Did he ever?
He did with his immediate family, his dad, his sisters. Mm-hmm. He did.
Mm-hmm. Did he have a peaceful death?
Yes, he did. Mm-hmm. I was there that night. Tina met me at the door, and she said, he hasn't spoken all day today. Mm-hmm. And I said, well. And so I walked in his room, and he opened his arms up, and he said, where have you been? And I went over and hugged him, and then that night, you know, Tina and her family left, and I sat with him we had us a little bed fixed beside his bed, and while my husband and son slept in another bedroom and my dad slept, he passed away.
He passed away.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. When Mike passed, I heard that some of your relatives had a problem, actually, with where you wanted to bury him. And during that show, there was a moment where we mentioned the fact that relatives didn't want him to be buried. And I asked the question, what, are they afraid that AIDS is going to seep through the ground, through the casket? And I think everybody sort of chuckled. Was that the fear, or was it?
I think so. Someone in the family called our dad and said, we're not going to let you bury him beside his mother.
I actually think a lot of the reason as well that they didn't want him buried there is he was gay, and it just is.
They thought it was a disgrace to the
yeah.
grave site and the memory
of our family,
your mother.
But I'm sure that played a bigger part than what anybody would ever admit to.
So your mother's casket was removed from the ground, taken to another cemetery.
A beautiful cemetery that's taken care of. They're all three there together now. Our dad passed away about 3 years after Mike, and they're all three together, right where he wanted to be. He loved his mother. My mother loved him. And they're in it's beautiful.
Mm-hmm. But your mother's casket had to be removed from the ground and taken to another cemetery.
Yes, absolutely.
In order to keep peace in the family.
In order for them to be together.
In order for them to be together.
In order for them.
Now, I understand that you have come out as being gay.
Absolutely.
Yes. And was Mike a part of that? Was Mike's coming out, was Mike being gay a part of your ability to be so straightforward about it?
Well, I mean, I have great sisters, and my father was wonderful. So, but yeah, Mike paved the way for a lot of people.
So how did you feel watching him in that environment? Because at the time I was doing it to, create a sense of information for the public. And although I had compassion, it wasn't until literally last night I watched it and I thought what it took for him to sit in that room.
He knew he was defeated going in. He was hoping that the show would completely focus on AIDS and how you contract AIDS, and it didn't. It turned to him being a homosexual, and I think some people got the purpose of the show, and some people totally missed it. And he wanted the education. He was adamant about educating.
And was him going into the pool on that day, because I think it was your idea, Tina, to go to the pool. And at the time you said, let's go to the pool. It was like 97 degrees, hot and humid here. And you said, let's go down the pool. And he said, do you think we can?
And I said, sure. Why wouldn't we? It's a public pool,
But you knew at the time he had AIDS.
I did.
But he tested positive. Right,
Had tested positive.
He tested positive, and it never even crossed my mind to not go.
But the reason I'm asking the question is whether or not you went to the pool that day to try to use that as a way of drawing attention to the issue,
No,
using that as a
absolutely
way
not.
to educate people to say,
Absolutely not.
you were just
He just
going
wanted to cool off.
We didn't have an air conditioner. We were poor. We couldn't afford an air conditioner, and we were burning up, so we just went to the pool.
But you knew immediately after you got there.
Immediately, yes, we did. That's why I said on the count of 3, you better get in, because we won't get back in.
As a gay woman who grew up here, do you think that the town has changed in its attitudes toward gay people? Homosexuality.
I really thought so. Toward gay women, I can say it's easier to accept than gay men because that's what they all tell me. But I'm reluctant to say a complete, absolute positive yes. Unfortunately, I think people are still geographically uneducated about anyone other than this area. And I hate to say that, but it's the way I feel.
Have you all talked to any of the people from our show 23 years ago who spoke against your brother?
Anybody
Really?
that was on that show.
My name's Jerry Waters, and in 1987, I was 37 years old. I was a firefighter for the city of Charleston, and we heard that Oprah was coming to Williamson. I decided to go to Williamson because I felt that although the good folks in Williamson would be able to express their opinions, I felt that I could express mine a little more forcefully.
I've had it.
It's now 23 years later. I'm retired from the Charleston Fire Department and have had 2 successful radio talk shows.
So you're the guest that people most remember from that show. Hi.
Yes, hi.
Welcome back. Because of this heated exchange with our medical expert, let's watch that.
Hey, let's all get together and hug them and live
That's
next
not
door to
what I've
them
said
and
at
let them
all.
babysit
And
our
sir, that
kids
kind
or
of
let
attitude-
whatever.
that
See?
kind of attitude is
You're not
wrong.
gonna handle that.
Your attitude is
You're gonna
wrong.
have to do better.
The reason that you feel that way, sir, is because you're afraid. You have a great deal
I
of
am
fear.
not afraid.
Yes,
I am
you are.
repulsed by the man's lifestyle. I'm repulsed by his disease, and I'm repulsed by him. And God has nothing to do with giving these people AIDS. God does not kill babies, and babies get AIDS. This is a disease of nature. Nature will take care of something that's wrong. It'll eradicate it. And if they were all put them all together without any women, they would be extinct from the face of the earth in no time.
First of
and
all,
if they couldn't reproduce, AIDS would kill them off
In
anyway.
a town this size, first of
So
all,
I've had it.
for
I've had it.
every
You've been
AIDS
trying to
patient
jam
that
this
we
down
have
our
in this
throats
town,
for years.
I'm not trying to put
You've been-
anything down your
yes,
throat. I'm
you
trying
have.
to give you the facts.
I've had it.
Seemed you were pretty angry that day.
It was pretty painful to watch, yes.
Painful for you to watch yourself?
Right now, yes, yes.
Tell me why.
Well, of course, I am a passionate person. Anyone that knows me knows I'm pretty animated. But the reason I came to Williamson was not to bash gays, and I felt that that's actually what I wound up doing. And that was not my purpose to be here.
Yeah, well, if it wasn't your purpose, how do you end up saying, I am repulsed by him? The word repulsed is a pretty strong, that is more than I'm upset or I'm angry or I don't like. I am repulsed by him. Do you still feel that way about gay people?
As a heterosexual, the gay lifestyle is not something that I certainly would want to be part of. Let's put it that way. So, am I repulsed? No. The fact of the matter is, I have no problem with gays. I have no problem with anyone that wants to do whatever they want to do as long as it does not affect me in any way, shape, or form.
Do you regret presenting yourself in that?
Oh, absolutely.
You do?
Oh, of course I do.
Yeah.
I was a little more passionate, caught up in the mob mentality. And that was never my intention. I felt at the time that Mike was maybe trying to make a statement by using the poor people in southern West Virginia, particularly Williamson, to get his point across. And I didn't think that was fair for the people of Williamson.
So you thought he shouldn't have gone into the pool?
I think he should have stayed in the community where he could have gotten much more support at the time. But again, kind of catching up in the mob mentality.
Yeah.
I said probably more than I normally would have said. And it was because of the doctor's comment to me that I was afraid. It wasn't about the gay, it wasn't about the disease, it was about the doctor telling me that, sir, you're afraid.
And so being called afraid directly offends your ego.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes. Well, the doctor was here.
Yes, good.
Okay. So I'm going to bring the doctor on. Were you surprised at how angry people were?
There was a lot of anger here that day in 1987, and it came out very strongly. And that wasn't typical. I think that in most places, people were willing to listen to physicians and public health officials in a much more participatory way than perhaps here and a few other places.
But as you're hearing Jerry say now, that he was somewhat caught up in the mob mentality, and he was specifically angry with you in that moment when you said, sir, you're afraid. He was affronted by that, right?
And not only that, but I was also affronted by the fact that the CDC continued to tell us that you could only get AIDS in a certain way, and then 6 months down the road, they found out we could get it in another way. Now, because you had told us so many times
Jerry,
in the past, or someone
we
did.
get AIDS in 2010 the same way we got it in 1987.
You can say that now.
I said it then, I can say it now.
All right.
We were right 30 years ago, we were right today. We have treatment now that we didn't have then. People are living for decades now. They didn't do that then. If Mike had gotten this disease 20, 30 years later, he would have had a much longer lifespan.
But do you understand what Jerry is referring to when he talks about we were told one thing, then we were told another thing? There was this sense that when we first started to learn about this disease, all the facts were not available, and people were just afraid. And you were aware of that, and probably still are aware that in some communities that still exists.
It does.
Yes.
It does.
Yeah. And so do you think we've progressed?
Much progress has been made. Clearly across this nation, across the world, we know a lot more today about education for prevention. We understand the issues that surround people's inability to accept some of the scientific facts. We still have a lot of myths. We still have a lot of rumors around the world about how you get it, how you don't get it, but it's much better today than it's ever been.
Yeah. So how do you feel about yourself today when you look at that tape?
Well, today, looking back 23 years, needless to say, I wish I had not presented myself in that manner. If that show was taped today, it would be somewhat different. It would be less passionate. I would try to have been a little more logical about it. However, having said that, I still probably would have said in context many of the things that I said.
So this is the question that I remember asking at the time about where is the Christian love and understanding here? Or something.
I have lots of that.
Okay, but when I looked at the tape last night, what I felt was missing was a sense of compassion with your passion.
Absolutely.
A sense of compassion with your passion.
Right.
Do you feel, since we're sitting here with Mike's sisters, do you feel in any way that you owe that family an apology?
I am sorry for their loss, okay, as I would be anyone who lost a loved one. But again, remembering the time and place, I'm sorry also that what happened in Williamson, West Virginia. And I think that
But it was happening all over the country.
Well, I know, but I think it could have been avoided by staying in a community where you would have, I would think, much more support in a larger city than bringing it to a tiny town where you'd have basically no support and scare people.
I know that, but who are you? Or
Are you saying that he should have stayed in Dallas?
Away from his family, because
but
we are his community.
ladies. What I'm saying, who are we to say whether or not a person can come home to be with their family when they want to receive care?
No, I'm just saying that it seems to me, I don't know if he got more comfort being at home with his family than he would have
had he stayed where he was.
In the gay community, where there would have been a much more understanding in the entire community as opposed to a few family members.
But he came home.
Yes, he did.
Said on that tape.
He was all we had. He was our mother. When our mother passed away, he was our mother.
And why does the understanding have to be limited to the gay community?
Well, with all
why
due
can't we
respect,
all understand each other?
And with all due respect, Jerry, there are gay people everywhere.
Oh, of course, I know that.
We are everywhere.
But
I have two daughters that are gay.
Of course, but in such an instance, when such a powerful
he was dying.
Do you resent that they did the show here?
Oh, no. Well, no. I'm just saying that if certain diseases, and I think the doctor will agree with me, there's certain parts of the country where if a person has a certain affliction, he's better off to be there than he is here.
I don't agree with that.
He'll get more medical care, better medical care.
But he doesn't have the compassion and the love of his family if he's not here.
And I just felt in this case, his community would have been as much,
But my question is, who are you or anyone else in this community to say he shouldn't be with his family?
Yeah.
So bottom line is, Jerry, you kind of regret it.
Well, of course. But who hasn't said something in the last 23 years that they wish they had not?
My name is Cynthia Stewart. In 1987, when Oprah first came to Williamson, I was a high school senior. I expected better representation out of adults in the room. I had never really experienced anything like that.
So, Cynthia, you were a 17-year-old senior in high school, same as Anna. Yes. And you were at that show, but you did not speak up. Why not?
Probably fear. I couldn't believe what I was hearing.
You remember Jerry?
Absolutely.
Yeah. And what did you want to say something to him at the time?
I was shocked, quite frankly, and I was repulsed at what he had said.
Are you sorry at all? I mean, that you played, you were judge and jury for his lifestyle, for...
And his family.
His family?
We suffered.
I mean...
Well, in my mind, his family, honestly, never entered in my mind. My issue...
I think that's what I have such a hard
That's the
time with,
point.
that you like I said, you demonstrated such hate and anger.
But most of my rage really was towards the good doctor and his comments, and not so much Mike. But it certainly did appear that way, didn't it? And I'm the first to, I'm the...
But if you look at the tape more carefully, you can see the moment, because the ego is a powerful thing, as we all know. We can see the moment, and you can too, doctor, right? The moment, and that's what I thought when you said it. You have told this man in his own community, you've come from the outside to tell this man that he is afraid, and he took great offense to the word fear.
Not only could you see it, you could feel it. You could feel it in this auditorium that day in an unbelievably powerful way.
And
Do you think that what was represented on our show was, because I was trying to get a balanced opinion from the audience, but do you think that that was representative of the way this town thought and
I
felt?
hope not.
You hope not?
I hope the ones that spoke, I hope that did not say to the rest of the nation, wow, the community of Williamson, they all feel that way, because the ones that wanted to be heard because they had the strongest opinions, those were the ones that, like I said, their voices were the loudest. And unfortunately, folks that could have supported the family did not get up.
Do you wish you had have gotten up?
Now, I do. I felt it was wrong just to treat another human being that way. I thought, wow, I cannot believe that this is what it's come to.
Yeah. I want to introduce you to Bob again. Let's roll the tape of Bob.
I think they should put them on a colony. I don't know, get them out of the public. My name's Bob Witt. In 1987, I was 51-year-old and I was an engineer on the railroad. I went to the show because I'm a Christian and the Bible says that lifestyle is wrong. And if the Bible says it, I believe it. I didn't think that they would call me up, but they did. At that time, I'd never heard of AIDS and didn't even know what it was. If a criminal killed 2 or 3 people, they'd put them in an electric chair. But an AIDS carrier can kill hundreds of people, and there ain't a thing you can do about it.
So you consider them as criminals?
No, I just, I don't have anything against him, but I don't want to be around him.
Mm-hmm. How many of you are like uncomfortable even being in the same room with this man? You're uncomfortable even being in the same room with him?
Right.
Okay. Because you think this is too close for comfort, even being this close in this room with him?
But I just don't want to drink after him. I don't want to eat after him.
And so, being in the same room with him, if he sneezed or something, would you be upset if he sneezed?
Well, if I was too close to him, I probably would.
Okay. Do you still feel the same way, Bob?
No, ma'am. I've had a complete change. I can't believe I even made that statement. I'm a Christian, and that wasn't the right thing to say. Mm-hmm. I mean, they got to live. God says love everybody, and that's what I do. Mm-hmm. I apologize to these girls for that statement.
Thank you.
You apologize to them?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Because they're human just like we are, and God loves it. Number one rule of God, love everybody. Mm-hmm. Now, I don't approve of the lifestyle. Mm-hmm. It says it's abomination. And that's all I got to say.
Mm-hmm. So when you look at yourself on that tape 23 years ago, you are embarrassed by that, or you wish you had presented yourself in a different way?
Matter of fact, I can't even remember saying that, and I wished I hadn't have. Mm-hmm. But at that time, I didn't know anything about AIDS. I'd never heard of it.
So tell me this, when you look at that tape, do you have compassion for him as a human being?
Sure. I'd have compassion for anybody. That's what God tells you to do.
Uh-huh. Sitting in that room, taking all that from everybody.
I really hated that he had to. I mean, too late to apologize to him now, but in other words, everybody thought he was doing what was right. I thought I was doing what was right. I guess I got carried away with that, too.
Got carried away with that, too.
Probably.
My name is Eugene Thorne. I grew up here in Williamson. I was 10 years old when Mike Cisco went swimming in the pool. Mike was one of the family friends, babysitted us and, took us to the pool or stayed in the backyard. We had cookouts and stuff, so we were always around him. He was always a nice guy. I knew I was gay when I was 6, and I started looking at guys more than I looked at girls. They would call me Tiffany, because I could twirl a baton faster than any girl could even think about twirling a baton. So they would just be like, oh, you're just gonna be a girl. You're just a little queen. I didn't know what AIDS was at the time. I got to watch the show after it aired, and I'm like, he's gay, and I'm like him, but I'm not saying anything. I didn't want to go and come out and they call me the Mike Cisco kid, or he's gonna catch AIDS. I didn't come out until I left Williamson after I graduated from high school.
Eugene actually wrote us an email about 6 months ago suggesting we do a follow-up show in Williamson. I want you to know I was already planning on it for the 25th season. And here we are. Eugene grew up in Williamson and is gay and also is HIV positive. So, did you move from this town because you felt that the town would be insensitive to your being gay, insensitive to your way of life?
Yeah, because you can be gay here in West Virginia, but it's like more like DL kind of thing. You have
down low.
Yeah, you got to stay on the down low, and you just stay on this side
down
of town.
Down low means pretending that you're not.
Yeah, there's a lot of that here. So, but it was just I just had to go.
Do you think the town has progressed in its feelings?
Yes, a little bit. I think with the Mike Cisco story and you coming here and, you know, me being openly, oh, here he comes, strutting his style and coming back and forth, a lot of people start coming out.
Do you think that Mike Cisco was a pioneer,
Oh, yeah,
was a hero?
a hero.
And how was he a hero?
Well, it takes a lot of guts to get on the Oprah Winfrey show and say you're gay.
In 1987.
In 1987. He's made it really easy for me. I'm an HIV positive guy. I'm undetectable. My family supports me. They love me. Nobody frowns on me. My friends know. And now the town will know. But it's nothing.
I think the town kind of knew
Yeah, the town kind of knew anyway.
that you were gay.
Yeah.
Yeah. But is this your first time announcing to the town that you're HIV?
Yeah. Yeah, but it's a step. We just want to educate people. You know, people don't, it's not like a death sentence anymore. You can die from anything. And me, I'm in good health, you know.
You take care of yourself and
Oh,
take your
yeah,
meds?
I take my meds and I live a great life and I run my flower shop in Cincinnati.
Do you think Williamson has changed at all?
Yes, it's changed a little bit. It progresses slowly here.
I had a season ticket to the swimming pool. Little kids would go in with open sores, little cuts on them. What if he had a cut? Can you tell me and make sure that to rest assure all of us parents and people that went swimming that day, could you get AIDS from him?
My name is Nina Blackburn, and 23 years ago, I was a stay-at-home mom. I went to the show that day to see what was being said, trying to find out the truth about everything.
So, what do you want to say?
Knowledge is a wonderful thing, and you learn so much as time goes on. And I apologize to the sisters, all of you all, if I said anything or done anything at that day. And if he was here, I'd give him a big hug because I know he had to be really, really scared. And I'm glad that you all were there with him. He had someone with him. And, you know, it was just awful.
When you look back at that tape, what do you think of yourself and your community?
I think our community is a wonderful community. They're a caring community. We've always been there for each other for a lot of things.
The thing that seemed to be missing for me when I looked at that tape, and Bobby, you can speak to this, is you have this room of all the God-fearing people. Where was the compassion? Where was the compassion? Where was the compassion?
We had compassion on him. I mean, I hated that he had it. I hated it, but...
When you look at that tape, Bobby, there's no way you can come out of that show thinking this is a community that had compassion for him. So when you look at it now, because when we know better, we do better, what would you have wanted the community to do differently?
Be more compassionate, be more understanding.
Yeah, be more
trying
compassionate.
to put yourself in their place and what they were going through. Not just him, but the family as well. You know, we all have some kind of
Yeah, because
tragedy.
it's interesting that Jerry said earlier, I wasn't here talking about the family or speaking to the family, but as I was saying, everybody who has any affliction is somebody's son or daughter.
Yes.
Yes. I think boils down to what Tina said back then on the tape. What if it were yours? What if it were yours? What if it were yours?
Fear overrode all our compassion and our love for the person.
But did you learn from that experience of standing up in that audience and being who you were on that day in that audience to be a little more compassionate?
Oh, yes.
For sure.
Yes.
You did?
Yes.
You did?
Yes, ma'am.
I certainly try.
Okay. Well, no matter what you think of Mike, you have to admit that it really was so courageous of him to go on national television in 1987. This wasn't a world where everybody was on TV talking about their lives like we have now with reality TV. In 1987, he was willing to share his story and knew that in sharing his story, about AIDS, he would be ostracized. So, Tina, I know your brother Mike told you that he never once regretted doing the show. You shared that with us because he knew that that would have an impact on someone's life. Even 23 years later, we still get letters about Mike Cisco. I want to show all of you what Stephen in California has to say.
How many of you in this room believe that AIDS patients should be quarantined? Raise your hands high.
When this show aired, I was in my 20s, just coming out myself. I was HIV negative, but I knew that this disease existed, and I was afraid. Mike was probably one of the bravest people I could think of at that time in my life. He stood up like a young, brave lion and just faced it. And I think he did it with a lot of dignity.
And you felt that you were not accepted in this community because you were gay?
Oh, I know I wasn't. I had actually never seen gay people on television up to that point. And for me as a gay young man coming out, it gave me a lot of courage to know who I was and how if this kid could deal with this, I certainly could tell all my friends and my family that I was gay. When I really thought back upon my life and what I wanted to do with it, I was able to reflect back on the show and how much it spoke to me. And it helped me realize that what I really wanted to do was to become a nurse. So currently I am going into nursing school, and my goal is to actually someday work with people that have AIDS.
So that's the impact we know that your brother had on one life, and we believe many others based upon all the letters we received. Thank you all for being here today. A special thanks to the town of Williamson, West Virginia,